What's going on, guys? CJ here. In today's video, I wanted to dive into Arena and the Arena meta at kind of your start, mid, and end game, what you expect to see and how you kind of can deal with it. Let's dive into it. All right, guys. So let's dive into the Arena current situation in Heroes of Middle-earth. We know that multi-squad PvP should be coming in the next couple of months, hopefully sooner than later. I'm really hoping we see it in Q1, given it was something that was announced back in their journey ahead in like August. So fingers crossed we see that, and it'll kind of really spice up Arena, because in my opinion, it's not the most exciting mode in the game, but it does give you gem currency, which is a pretty important resource in the game in order to better progress your account, especially if you're a free-to-play player. So for starters, let's kind of talk a little bit about the Arena, kind of if you're a new player, and what characters you have that you can kind of push the Arena ranks, and what team you should kind of start to think about building up for your Arena team, which, spoiler alert, is another great team for raiding. So, or for the most part, most of those characters can be in raid. So it's not like you have to build an Arena specific team and then also think about your resources going into like a raid team, right? Like you're kind of able to support both modes. So that's good. At least you're not going a little bit too far off one side or the other. But yeah, with that being said, like right now on the screen, I have my Arena team. And again, I'm not high rank at all. I don't even know what shard I'm in, to be honest with you. But I hover generally in like high silver 1. I've actually never even gotten to gold 2, but to be completely honest with you guys, I generally only do like my 2 arenas a day. Maybe I hit a third hit of the day if I have time, if I'm just kind of in the game and I'm like, I'll just do an arena real quick. I generally don't really go out of my way to do like the 5, that you can use without doing any refreshers in a given day. I think if I did more arenas, I could probably scoot myself into gold 2, but as we've kind of talked about on this channel before, my roster is very wide. I don't really have a very tall roster. So for example, this is my current defensive team, which isn't really a great defensive team, but I have them here because this is the team that I use generally when I'm on attack. So it's like the same roster, right? So you can see like I'm currently fighting 40, like low 40,000 power. Most of the squads here are like low 40,000. So if I'm not going to do the battle right now, but if I went in here to go ahead and attack them, you can see that I'm only 35,000. But this team can usually fight well above its weight and attack these like 41, 42, 43,000 power squads and win, because this is a very strong team. But not to get ahead of ourselves. So if you were playing this game and you were new, and this is actually a perfect example here of Tombstone, what team do you start with? I'm new to the game. I want to play Arena. What do I do? Well, one of the best starting comps that you can have in the game is your Rohan 3, right? So your Lady Eowyn, Eomer, and Eothane, because they have great mechanics together with all the assists. And then you have Eothane, who's like a taunter, right? So it helps keeping the attacks going towards him, which he's, of course, a defensive unit, so he can survive for a long time and allow for your other guys to do their job. Eomer is amazing because he's one of the only few characters in the game that can call an assist or essentially summon a character into the battlefield and have a 6th member who actually does decently well damage. He's got a low health pool, but if you can, again, protect him with those taunts, he's really good in Arena, and he hits like a truck. And then you got Strider, which, again, if you're a new player, you're getting his shards every single day for free. And he has a burn, which burn does some pretty good, if I recall, I think it's 10% damage like of their HP if they're burned. And that ability does pretty decent damage to begin with anyways, just from the attack. And he has an AoE. So anytime you can get an AoE is pretty nice, because again, you're just kind of hitting everybody, right? Eothane has an AoE too, but it's, he just doesn't hit as hard. And then Gau's Ironhide is a fantastic large unit in PvP because he has double AoE attacks and he has a huge health pool, but he's just super slow. So generally, this team right here, that's Tombstone guy that happens to be on my screen, which is like perfect for this beginner squad to not have to go and bounce back to my collection to kind of showcase us. This is a very good team. This is a team that can take you pretty far. It certainly can take you into gold with probably no problem at all. I was using this team for a very long time. I did, you can sub out Aothane, maybe Aothane or Strider, your call. You could sub either one of them out for Ugluk. So if you've been kind of building up an Ugluk because you have an Isengard squad, Ugluk is really good too, especially if you use his leader, because the leadership ability of Lady Eowyn is just not that strong. And in my previous video that I made about the tier list of leadership abilities, you can see that I had her as one of the only characters at the bottom for their leadership, you know, passives that they give to their specific factions. Getting that crit chance on just assists and counters is just not that great. So having her here as lead is kind of a disadvantage from Tom. I wouldn't, I mean, I guess it's either him or Strider, and Strider's isn't all that great either in for this team, of course, for Road to Rivendell, because of the Hobbit synergies and such. It's a fantastic leadership ability, but it's just not great here. So I would say you could certainly run the team as is, or you could probably sub out Strider or Aothane for an Ugluk, depending on how you built your team. And these characters you're probably already building if you're new, because they're all kind of characters that you're given to. Ironhide is one of those where he was always like a top 3 character in the game. And he's kind of an easy farm because he's a guild node farm. So I think most people today who are still new to the game are probably going after Ironhide because there's no reason not to, because he's an easy farm. But I will say Grahur the Brute is also a pretty good PvP character. I've never personally used him. I'm still building him up as you're getting those free resources every single day. If you go ahead to the web store and grab your free shards, you can also farm him now. He's a farmable hard node. Maybe he's a hard, I think he's a hard node, but regardless, he's farmable now too, whereas a long time he wasn't. So your only large character that you were kind of like consistently able to get as a new free-to-play player was Gaz. So with that being said, that's kind of like your beginner comp, right? So then if you're kind of like going into like the next tier of comps, it's definitely in sync with the comp I'm running. I would say this is a very strong comp. You got your Rivendell 4 guys, right? So you got your Elrond, your Elrahir, your Eladin, and your Arwen. All work very well together and synergize. And then Gaz Ironhide, again, is just kind of like a 5th plug and play character, because he just offers so much value with his double AoE, his large health pool, his survivability, etc., right? So he's just like a nice plug and play extra character on the squad. But there are other ways you can kind of build this one out. So what I've seen too, and I haven't tested it yet because I don't have him built out, but a lot of people have been subbing out Ironhide for Bomber, and Bomber is shown to be extremely good in PvP, even without him being completely built out. Like you can do a 5-star gear 8, gear 9, and see really good results from him with glyphs, etc. Because one of the biggest problems that's happening at the top of the ladder is stall comps. And Bomber is a great counter to stall comps, because he can stop provokes and he can stop the regen stacks. So super good. But the one thing to think about here is people can counter it if you start doing like a glyph resist build. I think that could be something that if somebody wanted to build out a PvP specific team and not deal with the bombers of the world, you could go like a full resist build, and that could be really annoying. But I don't want to promote that, because stall comps are the worst comps for this mode. There's nothing more frustrating than going into the PvP match and literally fighting the full 5 minutes, and you just can't finish the fight because you can't ever get your hits in and get your finishes because you just keep getting taunted. So this comp is good in the mid tier. I'm using it. I'm fighting and punching well above my my weight class. You know, 35,000 power. I'm fighting 45,000 teams and I'm winning. You know, so it's more than viable. And like I mentioned, it's certainly a comp that you're already kind of building out, because if you had your beginner comp, you had your Gaz Ironhide, you've already got him to 6 or 7 star, and then you were like, man, everyone talks about Rivendell, like I got to get my elves, I got to get my Lord Elrond. Well, all these characters are a S tier character rating team, etc. So like if you're on your path to getting Rivendell, like that's one of your next feats in the game, you don't have them quite yet, boom, here you go. You got your 4 Rivendell guys, and you got your Gaz Ironhide or Bomber, which, again, depending on where you are in the game at this point, Bomber isn't farmable, but Bomber might be farmable, or will be farmable in the next like 2 months or so. And with that, again, depending on where you are and where you're pushing and where your progression is, like Bomber could be the replacement of Ironhide. It just, you know, so there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of choice here. But I would say, you're going to start with your Rohan 3 type team, then working your way into the Rivendell team. And your Rivendell is going to kind of maintain that S tier arena squad in general. But one of the things that you can start to see, and I don't want to promote this team because I really, really hate playing against this team, and I don't see it a lot in silver and even probably when I get to gold. But as you really start to progress into that mythal rank and, your kind of champions rank, and people are really like hardcore focused in the PvP scene to try and maintain their, their ranks within those levels just to get their payouts. Stall comps is probably the strongest comp in the game. And really what the comp is you got your Elrond, your Elladan, and your Elrohir, right? So you got your kind of your core 3, you're subbing out your Arwen. And then what you're doing is you're trying to just get taunters to kind of just hold down the fort. So like nobody can really be attacked. Like you're just constantly forced and provoked to fight the same guys. You just have to keep hitting your Elladan, right? You just can't get away from him. He's going to keep telling you to attack him. Then as you attack him, you're getting counterattacked by Elrohir, right? And then you have your Elrond, who's just constantly protected because you can never hit the guy, who just keeps healing the team up. And then if anybody does fall down, generally like your Elladan, because he's the one you're attacking over and over and over, boom, he reses him, right? So then he's back in the fight again, then he's re-healed up, and you just kind of rinse and repeat that problem. And then even if you do break through your Elladan, you could have another taunter like Gimli, right? You could put a Gimli in there. So then you just have another beefy armored dwarf who's just frustrating to fight. And then you kind of pair that four characters with like a Rumiel or an Arwen, which again, you have this 4, and then to swap out your Gauze for a Bomber, swap out your Gomber for a Gimli or Rumiel. All those characters are super strong in Arena, and all of them have their place. They're all definitely, if I was to make like a top 10 list of best characters in the arena, it's gonna be your 4 Rivendell characters. It's probably gonna be Gimli. It's probably gonna include Rumiel. It's probably gonna include Bomber. Again, I can make another video, and I kind of thought about this, making like a tier list similar to the one I made in yesterday's video that focused on the leadership abilities, but maybe do like a tier list of all characters and where they kind of fall in play in the arena meta. There are other teams that work, like a full Goblin squad can be frustrating because they have that constant, respawn, right? So like when you kill one comes back. So you kind of have to constantly keep fighting them. So, there are other teams that certainly work in the arena meta, but to give you a little bit of insight, depending on where you are currently playing in the game, you have your beginner comps, which anyone can build up free to play. As you get as you work towards your Rivendell squad, you can kind of run your Rivendell all the way to the top of the ladder and then make mini substitutions depending on your play style or depending on what you're seeing as your primary competition. So if it's a lot of stall comps, then maybe you take Ironhide out and you put a Bomber in and focus on really trying to just use his kit to get rid of the provokes and the regen stacks. You can actually get through that stall comp. And then again, like Arwen is in this build, kind of like just talking a little bit about Rivendell and their synergies. Arwen's fantastic. She just has that decreased speed cleanse, which is super good if you have mirror matches into another Elrond. So that helps a ton having her on your squad and being able to obviously control the abilities, unlike the defense that's set that you're fighting that's a little bit more, automated, so they don't necessarily hit all the right abilities at the right time. So that's one way you can kind of beat the counter or beat the mirror match. And then obviously your Elladan and your Elrohir work super well together. If you have a maxed out, I think it's special too, I can't quite remember. It's the arrow of something. We can look at it. But essentially, the big thing with the Rivendell squad that makes them very strong in kind of working together is going to be Elrohir's. Apologize, I forget the name of the ability. I think it's Arrow of something. Arrow of Rivendell, is that what it's called? Why is this taking 10 years to load? Yeah, Arrow of Rivendell. So this ability is really good because of its, if you get it to level 6, which I'm not quite there yet, so I'm not even getting this advantage on my team in the arena. But if you get it to level 6, you always retaliate anytime Elladan's attacked, which if you're putting your taunts and building out your Elladan, you're really provoking most of the time to force the attacks on Elladan, and then you're getting those free hits from Elrohir. And a built out Elrohir, 7-star, etc. He hits super hard. So again, he's just adding a ton of counterattack damage, right, into the enemy while he's then able to attack, etc. So it just kind of all snowballs. and allows that team to work well while you're protecting Elrond to get those heals and get those and get those reses in if anyone goes down. So anyways, I want to make a video on the arena and sort of my thoughts on it, which again, kind of discussing a little bit about multi-squad coming, which is going to be huge because the current arena situation isn't really that exciting or fun to play. So I don't love the game mode. That's why I kind of just do my 2 to 3 arena fights a day and call it good, not really caring where my team ends up. Of course, I'd love to be higher ranked just to get a little bit more free resources. So that's a little bit of an account drain that I'm not getting right now. So I am trying to push gold. But you know, Rivendell and Haradrim are the 2 teams I'm working on. So as I get them stronger, I'll just naturally keep progressing in the arena scene, just because they're going to eventually get over that 40,000, 45, 50,000 squad power thresholds. I could already kind of see some gains if I wanted to. You know, as you kind of see in my account, I have a lot of 6-star ready to be 7-star characters. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think I have 8 of them. I have 8 characters. I actually almost have Eothane is 12 shards away from being number 9, and then Pippin is a couple days away from being number 10. So I'm actually almost 10 characters at levels or 7-star. I just haven't done any of them because I don't want to just drain my gold. But my point is if I pumped up Ironhide right now and Elrohir, which I have over 1 million gold, that's just a ton of power added to my arena team that I'm missing out on right now that I could easily get. And if I wanted to ever go back to kind of the free-to-play squad, like I'm about to get 3 7-star Rohan 3, I could pump up Strider and Ironhide, and then boom, I have a full 7-star free-to-play arena team that might even be maybe better than my current build, which is kind of at that mid team, just because, you know, Elrond's only 5-star because I didn't have 7-star elves when he came around, the first time for me that I got to go after Elrond. So again, like, I have things I could try and test on my roster. But yeah, I don't want to make this video any longer than it is. I just want to give a little bit of, kind of insights and opinions of the arena and opinions of the meta and the stall comps. They got to do something about those stall comps. Those are just not fun. Like, whether it's a way that you can not watch all the attack animations or something, or increase the auto speed from 3x to 4x just to kind of cut down, whatever they have to do. But we're getting to a point where stall comps are super frustrating, and something that CG is going to have to probably look at for arena. But again, with multi-squad PvP coming, maybe it's less of a concern. Maybe that's why they haven't really thought about it, because I said it's kind of annoying now. We get it, but this is coming, and it's not really a priority, right? So anyways, I appreciate everything and all the support. Like the video if you thought it was interesting, if it gave you any value. Don't forget to comment down below on maybe what team you're currently playing with, or if there's another team that I didn't really mention in here that is another great PvP team that should be in consideration. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.